Hey everybody, so today I have for you the next video in my exclusively pumping series. This one is going to be related to the one that I did before this, which was tips and tricks on how to pump with a newborn. This one's going to be tips and tricks on how to pump with an infant. So I'm just going to go ahead and get started. The first couple tips that I have for you, I'm just going to go over kind of quickly because I elaborated quite a bit in my last video on them, but pumping while they are feeding or pumping and letting them fuss a little bit, or what to do when they are fussing, those I feel like primarily stayed the same even when Sophie was an infant. Now I will say that when I was pumping while she was eating or having a bottle or whatever, I definitely had to do it on the ground when she was an infant because she was able to sit up, she was able to roll over, things like that, so it's not really safe to do it on your couch anymore. So I would just do that on the floor all the time when she was an infant. Still worked out great, and I absolutely love doing that. That's one of my biggest tips, is to pump while they're eating. Also, my last video when I was mentioning what to do when they get upset and things like that, that stayed the same for me as well. You know, if Sophie was just fussing and I could reach her and give her what she wanted, of course I'd just keep pumping and try to do that while I had my hands-free bra on. Those things make pumping with any child 1,000 times easier. I think even, you know, if your baby's not around, it's just nice to have your hands free while you're pumping. So I'll recommend that bra again because I just cannot live without a hands-free bra and being an exclusive pumper. But also, you know, if she was like playing with toys and she was getting overly frustrated because she couldn't figure something out, or, you know, obviously if I see her going somewhere that she shouldn't be or something like that, I would just, like I said in my last video, unhook the tubing from my pump, run over, grab her, situate her, get her what she wanted, depending on how long it took to, you know, get her back to somewhere where I was comfortable to go back to pumping. You know, if it was going to take more than like 30 seconds to get her situated, I would just completely unhook, take the flange, set them on the counter, put a regular bra on, cover myself up, and do what I needed to, whether that be a diaper change, get her a bottle, you know, put her somewhere where she's not going to crawl away and get into something, or bring her closer to me and entertain her that way. Whatever it may have been, if it was going to take longer than 30 seconds, I would just completely close up shop for a second, and then I would always come back, and then I would finish. Like I said in my last video, you're always going to have those instances where you're going to have to stop pumping, whether it be because you're a child or you're out somewhere and you're pumping or whatever it may be. There's always going to be a reason on why your pump session is going to get cut short. It's just going to happen sometimes. No biggie, don't stress about it. But what you need to do is when you get that free moment, the second you get that free moment, you need to go back and you need to start pumping. You need to empty those breasts. And then if it wasn't going to take more than 30 seconds, like I said, I would just unhook the tubing, keep my flange and my hand-free bra, do whatever I needed to, and then run back to my pump and just hook back up and finish. So those are pretty much the same things that I had mentioned in my last video. Those really didn't change. That kind of leads me into my next tip, which is to pump while they are contained in something. I know this sounds strange, but bear with me. What I mean is using a high chair, using a pack and play, an activity center, baby jail, whatever you got going to keep them in a certain area or even just in a certain thing. Amazing, 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 amazing. We got Sophie's activity center. She has like a baby Einstein's one. I'll link all her toy videos down below too. If you guys need some like toy ideas for your infants to keep them busy while you're pumping, I'll link all my toy videos down below because those were a huge help while I was pumping to keep her attention. But we got the activity center around the same time that she started really getting interested into like going and getting into things and stuff like that, which I loved because she was completely obsessed with that activity center. So she wouldn't mind when I stuck her in it while I was pumping, and that's kind of what I reserved that for. I mean, it's great for other instances too, but I really tried to reserve it so she wasn't sick of it and she hadn't been in it a long time, or that way she wasn't overly tired from it. Love that. We also have the Fisher-Price Space Saver High Chair, I think that's what it's called, and that thing is amazing. I was using that to put Sophie in while I was pumping since she was like 3 months old, because you can recline it backwards. Like, it leans back really far, and then it has 2 more settings, I believe. So she was in that thing from the time that I felt comfortable that she could support her head enough to just keep it, you know, straight up and down, but I use that a ton, and it's just super portable and I can take it wherever I needed to, whether it be in our bedroom, in the living room, wherever. Love that thing. We also do have a pack and play. I didn't use that much because Sophie slept in her pack and play in our room like the majority of my pumping journey, so I really didn't get to use that, but it is a great tool to use because if I had an extra one, I definitely would have just stuck her in there with a bunch of toys and just let her have at it. So definitely recommend that. I think Sophie started like legitimately walking towards like 11 to 12 months. Around that time frame I was done pumping, but I definitely have like a baby jail set up during most of my day to keep her contained. And if you don't know what baby jail is, I'm just talking about like I have my couches MacGyvered to like make an L, and then I have my coffee table on the end of that L, and then I have one more thing blocking, like cutting off half the room. So she gets like, don't get me wrong, she's got space to roam and she can definitely destroy this room with her toys, but our house is very open concept, so it's really hard to find baby gates that are super wide and stuff like that for us. So we just kind of makeshift a little baby jails, which we call it, and that keeps her contained. So if you have an older child or if your baby's already walking and things like that, you know, do whatever you gotta do to make it work for you. You know, get creative. I think I mentioned this last time as well, but I feel like when they are an infant, it's a little bit easier to do this, but pumping during nap time is amazing. Like, you do not have any interruptions normally. You can always like kind of bank on when it's gonna be and things like that. I never put Sophie on a schedule. I'm a stay-at-home mom for the most part. I didn't really care when she was sleeping, just as long as she was sleeping well. That's all that mattered to me. But she started making her own schedule around 6 months, and I could basically kind of tell if it was going to coincide with my pumping schedule. And around 7 months is when I started dropping pumps, and I was able to kind of shift my pumping schedule to line up with her napping schedule. So that really helped me out. I just loved it. So if that's an option for you guys, definitely take advantage of it because it's amazing to pump during nap time. She's like peace and quiet, and mom gets to like Facebook or Instagram or Pinterest or whatever her little heart away, and you don't have to be so worried about what's going on with baby. But definitely do that if you're able to. Also, don't be afraid to ask for help. I know that I've mentioned this before as well, but when Sophie started getting mobile, that's when I found that I needed even more help. So like I said, I started dropping pumps when Sophie was like around 7 months old, and I was trying to cut my pumps to the point where I was pumping more so when Mark was home. But even if Mark wasn't home and I went over to my mom's house for the day or something, I would ask for her to watch Sophie while I went into a completely different room and pumped. I did it more so just so I could have like a moment to myself, and I didn't have to be stressed out wondering what was going on all the time, you know, keeping an eye on her while making sure that I'm emptying right. Well, what's this boob doing? Well, this is, you know, like it's just so many things going on. So, you know, if you have the opportunity to ask somebody to, you know, just help keep an eye on your kid for, you know, however long it takes you to pump, definitely don't be afraid to speak up, ask for help, whatever you may need from somebody if you need it. And the last little tidbit that I wanted to give was know that you are doing awesome. Don't be afraid to look into Facebook support groups. I believe even like the Baby Center app has some groups for exclusively pumping moms too, if you're on the Baby Center website. Just know that you're not alone and know that you're doing awesome. But I just wanted to go over these tips and tricks for you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video and you found it helpful, and as always, thanks for watching.